All right, everybody. Hey, let me just check my microphone. All right, I think we're good. Hey, so today is 20 minutes with Bridgette. I'm Bridgette Lynn-Dolgoff, and today is June 8th, 2020, and the topic is identifying with the world. So I thought this would be a really good topic. I am going to start moving more into health and herbal stuff and nutrition and things of that nature as the summer progresses. So still a lot of information to come. I was laughing because I was like, I could do this 2 days a week for the next 10 years and never dry up with information. Also, this summer, I'm hoping to be on land. So in the future, you might have 20 minutes with Bridgette, like on location, showing how to do things with seeds and transplants and soil and just, blurbs. So you might see me in my boots, in my work pants, and wielding my shovel because that is my favorite tool, my shovel and my wheelbarrow. And so I can get out there and move mountains. So yeah, more about that kind of stuff in the future, which I'm really excited about. So it's going to be super fun. So also restoration work and other stuff. I just don't really have a very big location. I have a little square here that I'm allowed to use to bring these classes to you. So I don't really have my own space at this time. And so as soon as I have more space and I can do more, then I will bring more to you. So anyway, that's your kind of your update. All right, so I was thinking about this, this would be such a great topic because people want to talk about manifesting their reality, the law of attraction and these laws spiritual laws that govern here because people believe that they govern. So that's kind of the situation. So I was thinking about this because I had to contact, I kept getting these emails from BDINC, which is Biodynamic Association of Northern California, that I used to be involved with back when I was heavily involved with Rudolf Steiner and biodynamic study and nutrition study and phenomenology study and all the things that I was studying, and then also doing the quarterly meetings through the group for about 2 years and traveling to those locations because in my area there really isn't a whole lot going on. And they wanted people to have people mentoring because they're doing all their classes online, so they can't show preparation work online. So their online class coming in June would be on yarrow preparation and making it on a farm that has yarrow and, that puts it into the ground and blah, 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 blah. And so I finally, after like the third email, I just sent him an email back saying, look, there are not very many people that actually have farms that can actually mentor people on biodynamic prep making without it being like, a super big ordeal of, having people come there and, because a lot of these farms don't offer, a lot of them are not doing internships anymore. Some of them are allowing their land to rest. Some are just, doing other things. And there's, more online education with, limited actually hands-on. I did it the backwards way. I did all this work on the hands-on way and then, have been over the last, 5 years taking classes to study more of the information. So anyway, so I just sent them an email saying, look, this is like the third email I've got from you guys. Obviously, you're not getting any mentors to teach people how to make, hands-on biodynamic preparations. And, I just gave them some thoughts about how more people are in urban settings and city settings. And one of the things that I've been doing with my biodynamic studies is learning how to segue into how to help people in cities to grow food and create positive biological carbon centers to offset the negative carbon centers and blah, 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 blah. Because I think biodynamics in some cases, like, is behind, like 100 years behind and where we need to be. And how do we use farms that are making prep to actually support their closer cities and people in those cities, and how do they reach out to develop those relationships? And I said, in the Reno area just really hasn't been that great for me. I've tried to, reach out to the Waldorf school here. It's more of a inspired Waldorf because they're not really into biodynamics. And they have people here that are actually making compost and stuff that isn't really biodynamic compost, and they don't really know how to make it. And so it's just really kind of, yeah, it's not so good. And it was just a nightmare. I ended up losing one of my biodynamic mentors over trying to deal with the Waldorf school here in Reno. So finally, I just gave up with that. And so I don't do anything biodynamically here. I try to teach people some of the principles. I've done backyard food production builds for like 7 years, probably 8 years, trying to educate people, trying to teach classes. And so I was conveying that, it's not that easy to do a lot of this kind of stuff, and it's, it's a little bit complicated. And so finding mentors is probably not going to be that easy. Well, anyway, she sent me an email back saying, oh, so good for you, holding on to your, basically integrity and keeping along with your path, blah, 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 blah. She said, it's like, dealing with, desert consciousness. And she says she likens it to the visual of, a dandelion trying to push through the concrete. And so this is kind of like where this conversation kind of developed that I'm going to have with you, because I seem to get a lot of this stuff, right? Even though I wasn't asking for advice, I was, as a mentor, I was actually initiating a conversation kind of more about where I'm at, with, what I could mentor, right? Some ideas of, how we should mentor in the future, coming from biodynamic, reaching into the cities, more like solution kind of based stuff. Wasn't looking for personal advice, but it seems like more than ever, that's what people do. They like to project their stuff onto other people. So it's like it's constant projection. And I was thinking about that dandelion punching up through the concrete. And I was like, that's not a metaphor that, I want to attach my consciousness to, or my life. Because it really is, even though the dandelion is very well respected as its own medicine and preparation and biodynamics, I don't want to put the dandelion in that position of that kind of consciousness and struggling against the system, against the environmental system, and that's not where I want to be. I don't want to be like the dandelion, root and shoot and seed underneath a big piece of concrete, trying to push myself out like this little crack, or that's where my consciousness is. And so, I think it's one of the things that I have to constantly be aware of, because if I accept these projections from people, then because they're taking my information, even though they've asked for my information, and then turning it around and projecting their stuff onto me. And then it gets convoluted, right? Because now it's a whole other storyline, right? Now it's like some other situation that, wasn't needed. So it's kind of like goes back to being in the world, but not of it, which is supposedly, like I'm not a big Jesus person, even though I grew up in Pentecost. My grandmother was an exorcist and a prophet in the Pentecost. And yes, I did see a lot of demonic things leave people's bodies. And over the course of my life. But I'm not really a big Jesus person. But one of the things that, Jesus supposedly says in the Bible, is to be in the world, but not of it, right? Another statement that Jesus makes in the Bible is, I forget exactly what section it is, but it says something like, continue to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. I mean, once I read that, I was like, okay, then why am I spending all this time worshiping something, right? That's why I like my Native American spirituality, my Native spiritual work, shamanism work from all over the globe, because I'm not worshiping something. I'm participating with that something in co-creating a better world and evolving my consciousness, right? So I wanted to just, think about that. So that whole dandelion thing is, in the world and of it, right? Because it's forced to be of the world and trying to adapt to it, right? So it's a very martyr victimization approach in that consciousness of, I look at it like, my consciousness is like a dandelion trying to sprout out through the crack in the pavement. Yeah, sorry. That's just not kind of where I'm at. And I don't want to have that stuff projected onto me. But everybody says it. There's all kinds of these weird statements and people are making all the time that they're expressing. And so you have to really be aware at every moment to what is being imprinted onto you, what is being thrown back onto you. What the world is trying to pull you back in through these statements that go through your mind. Your subconscious picks them up. And then if you agree to them by not confronting them and really thinking about these statements, then they become part of your makeup, right? By me going, yeah, no. So finally, I just sent her an email back saying, yeah, it was sorry, just wasn't looking for advice. But thanks anyway. So just, trying to give you some information that, that I've been working on for quite a while, that we should move more into the cities and how do we support that. I'm not really looking for advice on how to work with the Waldorf school, how to, do a lot of this stuff kind of over that and moved forward. And so, but I'm constantly, right now I have a lot of people who get really angry at me because, I'm constantly having to stand up for myself and saying, where in any of this did you need to project your stuff onto me? So my stuff that you asked for, I responded, triggered something in you that wasn't even part of the actual situation that was going on, in order for you to respond in a way that doesn't really make any sense, right? And then projecting something onto me. So, I love Miguel Ruiz. He talks a lot about, in the 4 agreements, not being hooked in, be impeccable with your words. Super awesome, simple, easy book. He's a Toltec shaman, super easy in a way that people can understand. So we're going to go to the blog because I have a blog for you as usual. All right, here's your blog, coe-llc.com. And it's going to be 20 minutes with Bridgette, June 8th, 2020, identification with the world. And this is where all the law of attraction and all this stuff, because if you're not paying attention to every little thing, stream of anything that's going by you, through you, around you, and you're not confronting it, based on what it is you want to believe, and your subconscious is accepting it, this is what you're creating in your reality. And you have to, like, at some point break that and start paying full attention all the time and thinking through what people are saying back to you, or what the symbols are, or what the sequences are, patterns. So this is kind of a really interesting thing. I'm always looking at the repeaters or the looping in shamanism. It's something that fascinates me about this reality. And noticing what's going on, so a couple weeks ago, I asked Ryan Hunter, who's a shaman friend of mine, who was a student of mine. Now he's just really expanding. He's doing so great. And we went to the river, and I was there early, set up the chairs. It was in the morning. I was having I got a little to-go breakfast. Me and my doggy are just enjoying the river. It's quiet, it's cool out. The birds are swarming in and getting the little bugs off the water. See little fishes jump in. And I started noticing something. I started kind of noticing this really crazy pattern. this duck that I couldn't see exactly where he was flying from, because there's like, you know, trees along the river, would start quacking and flying right up the middle of the river. And he would keep on going. About this point where he hit in the river, this butterfly, this big orange butterfly, would release from this bush on the other side of the river. And as the duck continued out to where he couldn't see it visually, then this butterfly would fly across the river, almost landing on this bush where I was at, and then disappear, right? And there was lots of other stuff going on while this was happening. But these were the two repeaters that kept happening for like pretty much every 30 minutes for about 3 hours. I monitored that in the background. And then it stopped. So then I was like, okay, so we've got this looping, repeater going on that is looping and repeating for at least visually for 3 hours every 30 minutes while I was here this morning. I don't know exactly when it starts, probably could start at dawn, right? And then it goes on for several hours. And then, you know, then it goes away, and then it goes back, and then it'll repeat starting when the sun comes up. The same duck will, you know what I mean? It's like a holographic scenario. So it blows me away that people don't notice this stuff, right? Because they're not awake enough and their brains aren't thinking. So you're accumulating all this stuff into your subconscious mind because you're not confronting it, you're not absorbing it, you're not paying attention to it, you're not thinking it through, like, what the hell is going on here? What is this person really saying? Why is this person projecting? Why do these situations keep happening over and over and over again? And it has a lot to do with this whole idea of being in the world but not of it, right? All right, so I'm just going to throw some stuff out here for you. And all my videos are on Patreon. You guys know that. That's my Patreon. My blogs, you know, I also put up in case people, you know, see the blogs, so that way they might be interested in going to Patreon. Client testimonies, kind of my schedule and, you know, fees and stuff like that. And so I forgot to put a photo on here, so I'm going to have to do that, a special, you know, be in the world but not of it kind of photo. All right, so I wanted to take it kind of away from the whole Jesus thing, because that's where we hear that statement a lot. But I wanted to take it into a place where people could actually spend more time with other reflections from other spiritual people about the same topic. Okay, so Mitote and Miguel Ruiz talks about this. The Toltec talk about this. This is a blog that I put up, so there's a link to that. What is the Mitote? The concept can be confusing and vague, right? The outside dream: the world is full of unpleasantness, drama, violence, fear, war, injustice, fear and false beliefs control the outside dream. Because we're integrated strongly into the outside dream, our personal dream is also ruled by fear. And so that's the inability to see a truth is a fog of perception. The Toltecs call it the mitote. So the cloud, the vision, the smoky mirror of things being reflected onto you, but you not being able to see that clearly because it's smoky, right? You can't see through the fog of the truth. So anyway, it's kind of, that's a really good blog that you can read, kind of a basic about that. The mitote could also be, you know, being in the world but not part of it, right? But from more of a Toltec shaman perspective. This was a really good blog that I'd found, and I posted it a while back. In the world but not of it from a shamanism perspective, which is really great. And he also talks about kind of the mitote. And so this is Miguel Ruiz, Toltec lineage of Don Juan, talks about this profound way. He refers to the out of the world as the mitote fog, or the drama that is unconscious survival and habits of day after mundane, heading down work for ego or materialistic goals. So that's a really good thing that you can read as well. So I'm just going to try to offer you guys a few things here to kind of help, you know, wake this up. 5 practices of being in the world but not of it. And this was awesome because it's a Buddha. It's from a Buddha perspective, Buddhism. So we've got some shamanism here. We got some Buddhism. And so this was like, you know, some really good thing. Meditation, be the watcher. That's the most important one. The watcher is the thinker. Reflect on impermanence, contemplate emptiness, present moment. So anyway, I love that because it was super fun. So added that. And then there's also There's no absolute is a really good blog. They gave us their mind, which I'm going to read in a minute. And then this one, the AMI stalking. And then I put a materialism and task of anthroposophy, Rudolf Steiner's work, because he said that's where we just went wrong, is when materialism came. So his metote, or his, you know, the world and being in the world is called materialism. So these words, you know, are all the same, right? But we think that they're different, and we think that they're different. But this is one of the things that I really, really love. And I'm going to put this. This is a blog that I did. They gave us their mind. So this is Don Juan Matus, who was the shamanic teacher of Carlo Castaneda. And this is what he said. In order to keep us obedient, meek, and weak, the predators engage themselves in a stupendous maneuver, stupendous, of course, from the point of view of the fighting strategist, a horrendous maneuver from the point of view of those who suffer it. That's us. They gave us their mind. Through the mind, which after all is their mind, the predators inject them into the lives of human beings wherever is convenient for them. So the mind, left hemisphere, is duly reptilian, and it is the part of the brain that is the most controlled, because it keeps you fixated and stuck and like a rat going on the wheel over and over and over again. And then the discomfort of actually getting off that wheel. Like a lot of people that I've dealt with, life coaching and in health practice, you know, have had a really hard time. Like, for example, a friend of mine who I've really tried to help for 2 years, change their diet, change their mindset. It just blows me away that they just give up after a certain period of time, and then they go back to, you know, the predators engaging their mind, and doing things that, you know, takes them back 10 or 12 years. I mean, like the simplest thing, like you don't cook anything in the microwave anymore, right? You decide that's not what you're going to do, but most places have microwaves. And then all of a sudden, 12 years later, you start putting your water to make coffee and whatever else in the microwave. Well, you just went back 12 years. So your thinking just stopped, right? Your choice making just stopped. And anyone knows that microwave radiation is dangerous. It changes molecular structure, right? Causes inflammatory disease and causes death. Paralysis can cause death, heart attack, stroke. So, I mean, once you know that, to engage in anything unhealthy with microwave radiation, especially microwaves, is like going back a long ways in your you know, that you've moved forward, right? And it takes energy and time to be in the world but not of it, and it probably takes the bulk of your time to navigate through all of the deception, and the things that, you know, are trying to engage you in fear so that you will comply effortlessly, and that you will, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, you know, if I've always been self-employed, you know, I've always gone for education. I probably have equivalency of 2 doctorates, you know, if I could put all of the education together. And I specialize, right? So I have a specialty in my fields that no other people do, right, in the United States. So, you know, I think about, like, I don't know how people work. And yeah, are sometimes times lean? Hell yeah, I lived in my van for 8 years so that I could continue to go back and, you know, get the kind of education I wanted, because I had to pay for it out of pocket, right? because I've made choices that the system doesn't like people like me. And so they don't offer or afford us anything, right? When we decide that we're not going to engage the system in the way that the system wants, then we're, thrown out. And we have to come up with ways on how we are going to manage our lives and keep moving forward. But even though I've had times that were so lean where I've actually, ate out of a dumpster in 2000, actually, I think it would have been my 40th birthday in 2007 in Taos, New Mexico. But I'm glad that, I have done all these things because I get to see the world in a whole different way. And I think about how sad it would be to work a 9-to-5 job for almost the entirety of my life. My life is short. And is that all I am? Is some kind of meat, computerized meat that's programmed to do this one function? And why am I doing that function? And why would I want to engage in paying for a 30-year mortgage? I'm going to be stuck. And if after 15 years things go wrong and I lose that house, I just lost everything. When if I hadn't chosen that path, I hadn't been in the world and of it, I could have had my own mind. I could have had education. I could have had a lot of other things, free time to think, time to read books. And is my life going to look completely different than other people's lives? Of course. Are other people going to harm me? Of course. Are other people going to belittle me and project on me and try to harm me and destroy me? Of course they are, because I'm not of the system. And look at what happened to, like, if people think Jesus is real, look at what happened to that person, right? I mean, this path is not an easy path. I mean, Buddha had to go through 7 teachers to actually, and one was, the principles of starvation and poverty consciousness. That was the last one that he engaged in. And then he finally said, this is not it, right? This is not it. So then he moved towards his own path of enlightenment. But so we have to think about, like, what do we want? Who are we? If I'm only here for a short time, I mean, the other thing too is they really like to feed us is, I'm not saying that there is an incarnation, but the thing that they really love to feed us in this world is there's incarnation. So suck it up. It's a lesson. If you're working a 9-to-5 job and you're enslaved or whatever else, then maybe if you work hard enough in the next lifetime, you're not going to be enslaved. Are you kidding me? And people actually believe this stuff, because that's what you've been sold. And I'm not trying to be hard on people, and I'm not trying to be defensive or confrontative. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm trying to provide you with information that frees you to start thinking, which means elevating yourself spiritually so that you can make the turn. And if this world is not going to change, you've changed, right? You've changed, and how you participate with the world has changed. So your choices are your choices. And there's a lot of peace in that, even if the rest of the world doesn't really like it and are constantly trying to engage you and pull you back into the world so that you are of it and part of it, right? So something to think about. And, Hopis always say, the war is not outside of us, but inside of us. And when we stop the war inside of us, the war outside will stop. Well, that doesn't mean that outside world is going to change and we're going to have a house on the hill and a gold swimming pool and a love of my life. It's not, you're not going to have any of that stuff. But what it is you're not going to fight against what is anymore, because you're not going to be preoccupied by it. You're going to go in and you're going to live in peace no matter what is going on out there, right? This is why a lot of these masters could walk literally through a war field where battles are being shot and not one bullet penetrates them, right? Because they're in the world, but they're not of it. And their relationship to the outside world has completely changed. All right. That is your 30 minutes. Sorry, I keep going over, guys. I try to keep it back more to 20 minutes, but that's your 30 minutes today with Bridgette, and hope you have a great day. Adios. And let me get out of here, and we'll see you on Thursday.